ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Cloud Variety Show. Coming to you live from the heights of cyberspace, we're your guides through the fluffy, sometimes stormy, always intriguing world of cloud computing. Think of us as your late night tech talk show host. It's been a while since I recorded, Stephen. Sorry. Think of us as your late night tech talk show hosts, serving up a tasty mix of the latest cloud news, compelling cloud tales, and real life use cases, all sprinkled with a dash of unforgettable cloud computing blunders that reminds us that even in the cloud, gravity exists. So coming up on this very first episode, the latest news from the world of cloud that you love, including Microsoft getting to the bottom of the June Office 365 outage, AWS also experiencing a major service disruption in June, affecting many of its customers, and Google Cloud is planning even more regions. Mattias shares some strange news from Google, you don't want to miss that part, and we look at phishing on a global scale, but not like you might think. And should you be using Multicloud? Of course, there's much more than that in this potpourri of an experience. In every episode, we're here to bring you the latest and greatest from the world of cloud computing. We've got everything from news and use cases to mishaps and tips. If it's happening in the cloud, you'll hear about it here. Let's start with one of those stories with impact. Now, Microsoft has confirmed that recent outages to Azure, Outlook, and OneDrive web portals resulted from a Layer 7 DDoS attack against the company's services. The attacks are being attributed to a threat actor tracked by Microsoft who calls themselves Anonymous Sudan. Now, the outages occurred at the beginning of June, with Outlook.com's web portal targeted on June 7th, OneDrive on June 8th, and the Microsoft Azure portal on June 9th. This is a stark reminder of two things. First, yes, cloud services can go offline, and you should plan for those events and outages in your own systems. But second, there's no way a private data center implementation could have neither withstood this attack nor got back online as fast as they did. We need cloud services for reliability and stability, and even when really large attacks occur, we are still better off than rolling our own. Oh yeah, AWS had an outage too, a bad one. Bad, but more on that later. Google Cloud continues to expand its global. Speaking is hard. Google Cloud continues to expand its global reach, recently announcing the launch of a new cloud region in Doha, Qatar. The new Doha region will support the growing demand for cloud services in Qatar and the Middle East. This follows close behind the opening of the Turin region in March. As part of Google Cloud's global network of 37 regions and 112 zones, serving over 200 countries and territories, the Doha region will deliver high-performance, low-latency services and products to a wide range of customers, as Google marketing calls it. AWS Reinforce 2023 took place 13 and 14 of June in Anaheim and was a major event that focused on cloud security, identity, and compliance. There were a number of new services and capabilities announced, and we wanted to highlight a few. Amazon Security Lake, introduced in May of 2023, automates the centralization of cybersecurity data from 80 internal and third-party sources, eliminating the need for manual processes. It leverages Amazon S3 and AWS Lake Formation for the security data lake to centrally aggregate, manage, and derive value from security-related logs and event data. AWS is also investing in generative AI for cybersecurity applications. Yes, it didn't take long for us to get to the AI news. Generative AI and large language models can be used to create threat hunting queries, summarize event data from an attack with remediation code for vulnerabilities, and write penetration test scripts to automate the creation of Yara rules for malware detection. Amazon currently offers Amazon Bedrock to build and fine-tune generative AI foundation models for cybersecurity applications. Amazon CodeGure Security. Now, where have I heard that word before? Guru? Anyway, this static application testing app uses machine learning to automatically detect security vulnerabilities and policy discrepancies in integrated development environments, and the continuous integration, continuous delivery, CI/CD, pipelines, code registries, and repositories. It supports integration with GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, AWS CLI, Visual Studio Code, IntelliJ IE, Amazon SageMaker Studio, Jupyter Lab, Amazon Inspector, AWS Code Pipeline, and Amazon Code Whisperer for security scans. Neat. Finally, AWS launched Amazon Verified Access and Amazon Verified Permission. Sorry. Finally, AWS launched Amazon Verified Access and Amazon Verified Permissions to strengthen Zero Trust security architecture. Amazon Verified Access is a Zero Trust network access service for client workloads and application access by a distributed workforce. Amazon Verified Permissions is a fine-grained permission management and authorization service for role and attribute-based access control to applications. Quite a mouthful. But anyway, they're like sort of the key and lock for your AWS Fortress.
Coming soon to a theater near you, AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner CLFC 02.
Well, actually, it's coming to exam centers and not a theater, and whether it's soon depends on when you watch this video, because this updated exam premieres on September 19th, 2023. Now, as you may know, I called the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner one of the most important cloud certifications in my guide, which we'll link to in the video description, by the way. But don't you worry about this sequel ruining the franchise, because this CLFC02 looks to be just as good as or better than CLFC01 that came before it. Now, whenever a certification changes like this, a lot of people get quite concerned that they might be studying the wrong stuff or that it might cause them to fail their exam. But don't worry. These changes being made to the exam are not really that huge. And we at Pluralsight are constantly reviewing our training courses to make sure they're covering what you need. But let me give you the change highlights anyway. Domain 4 used to be called Billing and Pricing and worth 16% of the exam. Well, now it includes the support questions that used to be scattered across the other domains, and together, Billing, Pricing, and Support is now worth only 12%. So it's a small shift and de-emphasis. Domain 3 is now called Cloud Technology and Services instead of just Technology, but the real change is just the helpful extra sub-organization into subdomains to make the expectations clearer. And it's worth pretty much the same as before. Domain 2 is still called Security and Compliance, but it got bumped up a bit in priority from 25% to 30%. And it now includes a bit more about higher level Man, I was doing all right. Domain 2 is still called Security and Compliance, but it got bumped up a bit in priority from 25% to 30%. And it now includes a bit more about higher level centralized governance. Finally, Domain 1, Cloud Concepts, is worth about the same as before, well, just 2% less. But the key change is that it now specifically includes AWS's Cloud Adoption Framework. Now, this CAF is not new. It has been a helpful guide for years, and AWS last updated it in 2021. What it does, though, is describe the AWS recommended approaches to adopting AWS. You know, those things that were already being tested by this exam, right? So again, it seems to me like the biggest change here is that AWS is just giving us more helpful information. Very nice. Anyway, for all the details about the changes, you can read the blog post written by Andre Zoot, who previously joined me from the reInvent trade show floor to talk about this very exam and break down some practice exam questions. In the video description, we'll link to both his post and the recording of our live stream to help you study, because it's still useful. Oh hey, did you hear? Google is getting rid of their Google Domains product for registering domain names. Yep, they're selling this part of their business to Squarespace, and existing customers will reportedly be migrated after the deal closes in Q3 of this year, 2023. Squarespace notes that, quote, this purchase includes approximately 10 million domains hosted on Google Domains, spread across millions of customers. Now, that said, Google seemingly still has their Cloud Domains product in GCP, Google Cloud Platform, though it's not yet clear how the Cloud Domains integration with Google Domains will fare in this transition. And there are also rumors swirling, so I really can't speculate on that. To be honest, I'm still a bit confused about all of this, and I was definitely surprised to hear that Google is getting rid of Google Domains after just 15 months of it being generally available. For reference, Google Domains was in beta for a little over 7 years before that. Anyway, if you already use or are thinking about using Google Cloud, then you might want to follow this story as it continues to develop. And also, don't forget that Google Cloud IoT Core is being retired on August 16th, 2023. That's coming up soon too. You probably already know that the amount of data stored in the cloud is massive and growing every day, right? But do you know just how much? It's estimated that 1.8 zettabytes of data was stored in the cloud in September of 2021, and by 2025, it will apparently be 100 zettabytes. That's 100 trillion gigabytes, and a growth rate of doubling every 8 months or so. Jumping gigawatts, that's a lot, hey?
Let's talk about phishing. No, not the kind where you thought you got a free Christmas ham, which turned out to be you giving out all the presents. This one involves actual boats, vast oceans, and millions of marine lives. Global Fishing Watch is an innovative program that utilizes advanced technology to monitor and track global fishing activities. It aims to promote transparency and sustainability in the fishing industry by providing near real-time information about fishing vessels and their activities worldwide. Yes, real time, globally. The program is a collaborative effort between Sky Truth, Google, and the non-profit organization Oceana. The technology behind Global Fishing Watch combines satellite data, machine learning, and big data analytics to create a comprehensive and interactive map of fishing activities on a global scale. Most of that code is on GitHub, and some of the technologies used are Automatic Identification System, AIS, which is a tracking system used by many vessels to broadcast their identity, location, course, and speed. Global Fishing Watch uses AIS data to track and identify fishing vessels in near real time. Think of it as sort of flight radar, but for ships. Satellite-based synthetic aperture radar, SAR. Yeah, say that 10 times fast. SAR technology is used to detect vessels even when they are not actively transmitting AIS signals. SAR can penetrate cloud cover and provide high-resolution imagery of the ocean surface, allowing the identification of vessels engaging in fishing activities. Alright. Global Fishing Watch employs machine learning algorithms to analyze the massive amount of AIS and SAR data, and these algorithms are trained to classify vessel behavior and differentiate between fishing and non-fishing activities. They can also detect suspicious or illegal fishing practices such as vessel loitering and transshipment at sea. The program utilizes big data analytics to process and analyze the vast amounts of AIS and SAR data collected from multiple sources. And this enables the identification of patterns and trends in fishing activities, helping to improve understanding and management of global fisheries. There's even an intuitive and user-friendly web-based interface that visualizes the fishing activities on a map. Users can explore and analyze the data, filter specific vessel types or regions, and access detailed information about individual vessels and their fishing patterns. And by combining these technologies, Global Fishing Watch can provide governments, researchers, and organizations with valuable insights into global fishing activities, including areas of high fishing intensity, potential illegal fishing, and the impact of fishing on marine ecosystems. And this information can support evidence-based decision-making, enhances fisheries management, and provides sustainable fishing practices worldwide. And this all gives the term fishing net.
Hey, I have 4 reasons why not to go multi-cloud. I'll start that again because I did 8. Hey, I have 4 reasons why not to go multi-cloud. It costs more, it's less secure, you wind up with more downtime, and you get a false sense of security. Number 1, it costs more to initially build a multi-cloud system, and then it also costs more to run it in the long term. This is because a multi-cloud system increases complexity over a single cloud one. Number 2, multi-cloud is less secure than a single cloud system because of the larger attack surface. Not only do you have 2 individual clouds to secure, but you also have to think about your systems that coordinate them. Also, it's easy and common to make simple assumptions about how similar the different clouds are. So when they aren't the same, those differences can lead to big security vulnerabilities. Number 3, multi-cloud leads to more downtime, especially caused by issues in whatever extra systems you have that are supposed to coordinate or switch between clouds. Multi-cloud does not eliminate single points of failure, it really only moves them around. And that means they often end up somewhere less visible, lying in wait. Number 4, people often get a false sense of security from multi-cloud because they incorrectly think that they've protected themselves against a lot of the issues I've just mentioned, and they haven't. Many people's thinking around multi-cloud is kind of like saying, always take 2 cars to go to the grocery store just in case one breaks down. That's just silly. The mitigation technique costs way more than it's worth. And for what it's worth, they don't even send 2 vehicles to transport something as critical as an organ for transplant. So don't multi-cloud unless you absolutely have to. Cloud happy instead.
Hey, did you know that there are 2 hard problems in distributed systems? Number 2, exactly once message delivery. Number 1, guaranteed order of messages. And number 2, exactly once message delivery.
There were a lot of outages in June of 2023, including significant ones on Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, and Amazon Web Services, AWS. Of course, there were also tons of outages at different data centers too, but we're not going to learn anything from those. Instead, I want to focus on the AWS outage of June 13th, 2023, because it offers us the best opportunity to learn. And this video is all about shining light, not throwing shade. Remember this truth: everything fails all the time. And that everything includes both our own stuff and the stuff we rely on. First, let's look at what went down. I mean, like literally. Well, this outage reportedly took down the Burger King app, blocked The Verge from updating their homepage, and also impacted Delta, Shutterfly, the Associated Press, and more. Oh yeah, it also broke a Cloud Guru. Maybe you've heard of it? Yep, ACG courses were offline for a grand total of about 2 hours, with a helpful little notice on both the site and our status page to keep people informed. But now let's look at how those things broke behind the scenes. It was Lambda. Lambda is Amazon's serverless service for running little functions of code without having to worry about any of the servers, hence the term serverless. And although Lambda is a much newer service than, say, S3, which is also serverless by the way, Lambda is now also core to a great many things. That's why when Lambda in the North Virginia and US East 1 region had an issue, it took down a lot of things with it. In particular, it took down 103 other AWS services that depend on it. Very interesting, eh? And those services are AWS Account Management, AWS Amplify, AWS... No, I'm just kidding. There's no way I'm listing them all. But I do find it interesting that this Lambda issue cascaded to things like CloudFormation, the virtual call center AWS Connect, Relational Database Service RDS, Elastic Load Balancing, and even Amazon Braket, the quantum computing service. Lambda is used everywhere. Now, it's a little hard to get to the information about this outage on the AWS site, so I've copied it into an easier to read doc that we'll link from the video description. And if you jump down to the last update, they note, we quickly narrowed down the root cause to be an issue with a subsystem responsible for capacity management for AWS Lambda.
Capacity management.
The bane of IT teams everywhere. Well, last decade anyway. This decade, we can shift most of capacity management to be a cloud provider problem, and usually they do it so well that we forget they even are. But we'll dig into that lesson in just a sec. Anyway, the issue started at 11:49 a.m. Pacific time and, quote, by 1:41 p.m. PDT, the underlying issue with the subsystem responsible for AWS Lambda was resolved. They continue on, at that time we began processing the backlog of asynchronous Lambda invocations that accumulated during the event, including invocations from other AWS services. As of 3:37 p.m. PDT, the backlog was fully processed. Okay, 3 things stood out to me about this outage. Lesson number 1, Cloud providers can solve capacity management issues ridiculously quickly. If you think about solving a capacity problem in your own data center, you're looking at a timeline of weeks or months to purchase hardware, get it delivered, install it, and configure it to run your system. And that's ignoring any bureaucracy your organization might have around capital expenditures. You might be able to drop that timeline down to just days if you're willing to throw truckloads of money at the problem. By comparison, this entire outage lasted only 2 to 4 hours, including complete recovery, and we AWS customers didn't have to do anything to bring it back up. And the money cost to recover was zero for us too, or potentially even negative if we get something back based on the service level agreement. In the future, I would choose the cloud side of these trade-offs again in a heartbeat. Lesson number 2, item potency. Let me reread one part of the update. We began processing the backlog of asynchronous Lambda invocations that accumulated during the event.
Did you know that there are 2 hard problems in distributed systems?
This is one of the wrinkles of distributed systems. In particular, failures are not always as cut and dry as they tend to be in non-distributed systems, where a function will generally either run right away or not at all. But with this Lambda issue, some functions came back to life and ran 2 hours later. So I hope they were all idempotent. Now, idempotent is just a fancy way of saying that something can be done multiple times without causing problems. And making our function idempotent is usually as simple as saying that it should make sure that something has happened rather than having it do something each time it's run. So it's like saying make sure the pitcher is full of water instead of saying add 1 liter of water to the pitcher. Adding water multiple times will make it overflow, but you can make sure that it's full as many times as you want. Now, even with non-distributed systems, idempotency is best practice, but it's easier to get away with cheating there. If you cheated in your Lambda function though, this outage might have given you a bigger mess to clean up. Okay, lesson number 3, Lambda is all grown up. That is, you can trust Lambda for mission-critical workloads. Now, it might seem odd to have me claim that a Lambda outage shows us how reliable it is, but it's true. Just look at the list of AWS teams that chose to use Lambda when building their world-class services. There are 103 of them, and these are seriously smart people. If they can trust Lambda, then I'm pretty sure you can too. And yes, this does include trusting Lambda in North Virginia. Now, whether US East 1 is the best AWS region for you to use is a whole nother question, one for another day. Well, that's it. I hope you've found value in at least some part of this breakdown, and please let me know.
Well, folks, we've journeyed through some wild territory today in our trip across the cloud. From the towering thunderstorm of the AWS outage, where the rain was digital and the umbrellas were, well, sorely lacking, we've learned that even the mightiest cloud giants can have an off day. Multicloud, discovering that sometimes having too many clouds in your sky can obscure your tech vision. More isn't always merrier, it seems. Globing Fishing Watch is a brilliant example of a large-scale cloud project which has created a global system that would have been almost impossible without cloud computing, hook, line, and sinker. And finally, we navigated the plot twist in the tale of Google domains. Google's got a for sale sign on this piece of their cloud estate and Squarespace is moving in. So, dear domain holders, prepare for a change of scenery as you will reportedly be So, dear domain holders, prepare for a change of scenery as you will reportedly be migrating at the end of Q3 2023. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more cloud content and put any comments down below. Tune in next time as we continue our adventure through the vast skies of cloud technology. And in the meantime, keep your head in the clouds, but your code on the ground. Because you don't want to code in the clouds, you want to code, and you can't have clouds on the ground. So anyway.